Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
It's our literature unit, and we're going to focus for the next couple of days on a book called The Woman in Cabin 10. It's a modern mystery, and it's interesting because I guess it gets its roots from Agatha Christie, the very famous British mystery writer. She had a long life. I actually, Tom, wanted to look her up because I thought, wow. I remember her being really old when she died. I think she was born in 1896. But she died in 1976.
Wow.
So she lived a very long life. This particular author, though, is much younger. She was born in 1977. We're going to talk about Ruth Ware in day 2. But this is a pretty new book. The reason why we're focusing on it, though, is that a movie was just made about this book. So our listeners can actually go see the film, too.
Yes, and of course, we're talking about the novel version of this work of art here. It's our literature unit for the month of November. And the work of literature we're talking about is entitled The Woman in Cabin 10. It's a modern mystery on the high seas. Okay, so let's listen to our article right now. We'll be right back to talk about it. The Woman in Cabin 10. A modern mystery on the high seas. Lo Blacklock, a travel journalist from London, receives a dream assignment. She's invited to cover the maiden voyage of the Aurora, a luxurious cruise ship sailing through the Norwegian fjords. Still shaken by a recent break-in at her apartment, Lo hopes the journey will help her recover. At first, everything seems perfect. With only a select group of wealthy guests, the exclusive vessel offers fine dining, elegant suites, and a peaceful atmosphere surrounded by stunning scenery. However, Lo's anticipation soon gives way to worry. On her first night aboard, Lo hears a scream and a loud splash coming from the next cabin, Cabin 10. Rushing to investigate, she catches a glimpse of what seems to be a woman's body sinking into the icy dark water. She also spots a fresh pool of blood on the glass balcony fence of Cabin 10. In a panic, she alerts the crew, but they dismiss her story. The passenger manifest indicates every guest is present, and the crew insists Cabin 10 was never occupied. Although Lo had visited the cabin the night before to borrow mascara, the room is now vacant. The other passengers seem unaware of any trouble. Lo's credibility is questioned, and she begins to doubt her perceptions. As the ship sails through the isolated North Sea, Lo feels increasingly trapped. She persists in searching for answers, but everyone around her is doubtful. Strange things start to happen, and she receives anonymous threats warning her to stop asking questions. The closer Lo gets to the truth, the greater the danger becomes. Will she solve the mystery before the cruise ends, or will she be the next to vanish without a trace? Okay, everybody, it's time for us to break down the contents of today's lesson. Again, the title is The Woman in Cabin 10. It's a modern mystery on the high seas. If you've ever taken a cruise ship, they have different rooms, and they will be called cabins. You don't call the rooms in a hotel cabins, you call them rooms, but on a cruise ship, or a ship for that matter, there will be cabins. And supposedly there was a woman in Cabin 10, and this is a modern mystery on the high seas. If you're talking about the high seas, you're talking about in the ocean and probably far away from land.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Usually we hear it when we're watching a pirate movie. We're sailing on the high seas. And I thought, what is high seas? I even looked it up myself. And as Tom said, it's just the open ocean. You're far away from land. You're out there in the deep waters. So it can be kind of scary sometimes because if a big storm comes along, who are you going to ask for help, Anyway, she's written a modern mystery, and the person who she's making as her lead character, her protagonist, we'll talk about that in a minute, is someone named Lo Blacklock. I was just saying to Tom before we started, what a weird name. Lo must be a nickname.
Or short for Lola or Lolita or something like that.
Loretta. It could be short for a lot of different female names, but she's a travel journalist, which I've always thought was a pretty great job. You travel to different places and then you write articles about that, and then you travel somewhere else from there. So it would be kind of a fun job. If you're single, I think if you have a family, it's not such a great job. But if you're a journalist, you're usually someone who is writing or reporting about contemporary events or news. You might be a correspondent. We use that word correspondent more if they're reporting about a war correspondent. But a lot of people are journalists these days. We've got a lot of citizen reporters, people who maybe didn't study journalism in school, but they feel like they want to report what they're seeing with their own eyes. So they have become journalists online. She's a travel journalist. She's from London. And the person who is going to be in the film is Keira Knightley, who is a very famous British actress. You guys all know who she is. She's really pretty, and she's been in a lot of fun movies. But this one, she's portraying a journalist who receives a dream assignment. When you talk about a dream job or a dream assignment, it's something that everybody would love to have. It's so great.
Right. So if you're a journalist, of course, you'd like to be sent to exotic places, like maybe Japan or something like that, or France or wherever to cover various things. But you don't want to be sent to a remote island somewhere. You don't want to be sent to Guam to write news about Guam. It's a nice place, of course, but it's not really terribly exciting. But she gets this dream assignment. And, what is it? She's invited to cover the maiden voyage of the Aurora, a luxurious cruise ship sailing through the Norwegian fjords. This sentence has a lot of information for us. First of all, her assignment is to cover the maiden voyage of the Aurora. Okay, a maiden voyage is the first time a ship sails on the ocean blue, just like the Titanic on its maiden voyage, its first trip. It actually ran into an iceberg and sank to the bottom of the ocean. And in this particular case, though, it's a big cruise ship. It's a luxurious cruise ship. It's called the Aurora. Mm-hmm. And in this particular case, it's sailing through the Norwegian fjords. Okay, Norway is famous for these kinds of little valleys that are close to the ocean. Well, I shouldn't say little. They're actually quite big. They're quite deep. And, of course, it's quite scenic, and lots of cruise ships go past there, and they probably go all the way up to the Arctic Circle so people can see the northern lights, which are also called the Aurora. So that's probably why this boat is called the Aurora, because it's sailing so far north along the coast of Norway.
Right, these Norwegian fjords, fjord is how that's pronounced. They're actually where the sea goes inland, but it is ocean water. Right, and usually there are some big icebergs in there. It can be kind of dangerous, but those are beautiful. I've always wanted to go see them. She's going to be on a luxurious cruise ship, so she's probably going to have a pretty nice cabin. They're going to have delicious food being served all the time. I haven't been on a cruise myself, but my sister loves to go on cruises with her husband. And, you don't have to do anything. They just feed you so much that you gain a lot of weight if you go on a cruise. But cruises are fun. It's a vacation that you take on a ship. And sometimes they'll dock or stop the ship in certain areas. You can get off and go on land. But the majority of the time you are on that ship and you're cruising around. Now, she's still shaken by a recent break-in at her apartment. So when she was not on the cruise, somebody broke in and tried to rob her while she was in her apartment. So that's very upsetting. Even if you're not home, but someone breaks in, you feel like someone's violated you. It's a terrible feeling. So Lo is hoping the journey that she's taking on this cruise will help her recover, relax, and feel more safe.
Yeah, break-in here has a hyphen in it, so that makes it a noun. There was a break-in at her apartment. You could separate those two words without the hyphen, break in, and that makes it a verb phrase. the thief broke into the bank, for example, to try to steal money.
Yeah.
Now, in this particular case, she hopes the journey will help her recover from that traumatic experience. At first, or at the beginning, everything seems perfect. Okay, it's a great time to be on this cruise ship. Remember, it's a luxurious cruise ship. I guess you could also call it a luxury cruise ship. Of course, cruise ships dock here in Taiwan in Kaohsiung and Geelong. And, of course, everything's perfect at first. With only a select group of wealthy guests, the exclusive vessel offers fine dining, elegant suites, and a peaceful atmosphere surrounded by stunning scenery. So, again, this is the maiden voyage of this cruise ship. And, of course, they only have a select group of wealthy guests. So, normal people are not allowed on this maiden voyage of the ship. They're only really important, rich people. And, of course, this is an exclusive vessel. If something's exclusive, well, only certain people are allowed and others are excluded. If you exclude somebody, you just simply don't include them. They're not invited.
It also has elegant suites. So remember, we called her room a cabin. A suite is a set of rooms. Usually you have a bedroom, maybe you have a kitchen, a family room or a living room where people can sit. Usually, if you are wealthy enough to book a suite, you're paying quite a bit of money. But it's nice if you have a family. Sometimes when my family would travel, my parents would get a suite because it just gave us more room to move around, you could say. So it's got elegant suites, of course, if you only cater or serve wealthy guests. I'm sure they have very elegant, very beautiful suites, and a peaceful atmosphere surrounded by stunning scenery. Here they're describing what it looks like, what it feels like to her as she's on this very luxurious cruise ship. If you're saying something stunning, it's so beautiful, you just kind of don't even have words. Wow, so beautiful. Scenery, all of you guys know this word. It's just the natural features of a place. It could be that the cruise ship itself has beautiful scenery. We don't know how it's been decorated. Maybe they even have some trees there. Nowadays, you can do amazing things on these very large super yachts, as we call them, super yachts, a very, very, very big ship. So she feels like she's, just starting her dream job here.
Right. So they've got great scenery there. Of course, lots of cool things to look at with those Norwegian fjords. And moving on to the next paragraph here, it says, however, Lo's anticipation soon gives way to worry. So anticipation means you're excitedly waiting for something to happen. She's really excited to be on this cruise ship, and she can't wait to see what happens. And she's going to look for some information for news stories and talk to very important people and things like that. Get their impressions of the journey here. But later on, of course, she starts to worry. So if something gives way to something, that means it changes into a different situation. So she was really excited at first, but then she started to worry about things because something weird happened.
Or it could say, however, Lo's anticipation is taken over by worry. So she suddenly is not feeling so peaceful and, smooth and not worried about anything. She's got a problem now because on her first night aboard the luxurious cruise ship, she hears a scream and a loud splash coming from the next cabin, cabin 10. So this isn't her cabin, it's the cabin next door. And she hears what would scare me to death is a scream and then a splash because you are on the high seas, people. You're out there in the middle of the ocean, and if someone falls overboard or is pushed overboard, it's very difficult to be rescued in the dark. And it's probably pretty pitch black out there. You only have stars to give you any light. So she rushes to investigate. She wants to know what's going on, and that's when she catches a glimpse of what seems to be a woman's body sinking into the icy dark water.
Ooh.
Oh, it's terrible. If you get a glimpse of something, it's a very quick look at something. Maybe someone says, hey, did you see our new our new employee that's working on the third floor. He's pretty cute, right? And you could say, oh, I only got a quick glimpse, or I only got a glimpse. I didn't, really get to look at him very long, but I'm sure what you tell me is true. He's very handsome. So she only got a quick glimpse of what she thought was a woman's body sinking into the ocean water.
Yeah, of course, she's next to Norway, so the water is cold, so it's icy. And, of course, it's dark, so it's probably getting close to nighttime. We'll continue talking about our story here in just a couple of seconds, but let's take a break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是 Patrick. 今天讲解的是 The Woman in Cabin 10, A Modern Mystery on the High Seas. 好，那这是在介绍一本英文小说哦。那中文翻译成10号仓房的女人。好，这个单元对喜欢悬疑情节的读者来说，你可以把这一本小说找出来看，就可以跟着主角旅游记者 Lo Blacklock 一起解谜，看看隔壁仓房的旅客到底到哪去了。好，我们一起来看学习重点吧。那请看到第一段的第一个句子，先让我们知道这个主角到底是什么样的身份。好，原来他是在伦敦，那是一名旅游记者，名字叫做 Lo Blacklock。好，他有一个任务，什么任务呢？就是搭上这个北极光号 The Aurora。那这个北极光号呢是第一次出航。到底这个北极光号是什么？在逗点之后，这个同位语 a luxurious cruise 就说明了这是一艘豪华的邮轮 luxurious cruise ship。好，那再来我们看到第三个句子。第三个句子呢是分词构句，往后找主词 Lo 当然就是我们整个小说整个故事的主角。She was still shaken by a recent break-in。那因为没有连接词嘛，所以我们做了分词构句。她到底是被什么吓到了？原来在公寓，在她自己家里面发现有人闯空门 break in， 也有人闯入她家。好，再来我们看到第五个句子。第五个句子逗点之后，我们看到主词 the exclusive vessel， 指的当然就是北极光号这艘豪华邮轮嘛。请同学特别注意到这个 exclusive 这边所指的倒不是具有排他性的，我们可以这样子解读，它其实呢算是比较高级的、豪华的，像精品一样的。那当然啦，也就限定了特定的社经背景的人，有一定经济能力的人才有办法搭乘。好，那 exclusive 还有哪一些用法呢？类似的类似刚刚我们看到的这个句子呢，也可以说比方说 We stayed at an exclusive resort. We stayed at an exclusive resort. 那 resort 就是度假中心那很高级的度假中心不是一般人都可以去的。那你可以用这个形容词。那再来，我们继续往下看，看到第二段的第一个句子，这个动词片语 give way to。好，那这边这个句子我们先说明整个句子的意思。整个句子所指的呢，就是这个旅游记者呢，他其实一开始的时候是很期盼这一段旅程的，不过很快的这样子的期盼就转变成了什么？担忧、焦虑。好，所以 give way to 有取而代之的意思，或者我们也可以把它解读成转变成。好，那再来请同学看到第三个句子。好 rushing to investigate， 那当然也是这个主角他呢就很快的跑去看一下到底发生什么事。 She catches a glimpse of what seems to be a woman's body。 那这名女子怎么了？ Sinking into the icy dark water。 好，原来呢是隔壁房间10号出事了。那她听到了尖叫声 scream，那也听到了这个落水声 splash。 后来呢他惊见，这边 catches a glimpse of， 那就是他只看到，因为我们知道掉入水中动作很快嘛，所以我们用 catches a glimpse of， 他看到一名女子的身影落入水中。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. It's our literature unit, and we're focused for the next couple of days on The Woman in Cabin 10. That's the name of a mystery written by our author, Ruth Ware. She's British, kind of a young author. She's not very old. And it's a pretty new book. It was only published in 2016. So this is the plot. She's got her protagonist, the lead character, named Lo Blacklock, who is a travel journalist from London. And she gets a really great assignment from her boss, her editor, whoever she works for. And she's invited to cover the first or maiden voyage of a ship called the Aurora. It's a luxurious cruise ship, and it's going to be sailing through the beautiful Norwegian fjords. So poor Lo Blacklock is pretty upset at this point because she had somebody, a robber or a thief, break into her apartment before this assignment, and it kind of shook her up. It's kind of scary when somebody breaks into your home and tries to rob you. Even if you're not there, it feels terrible. I've had that happen to me. So at first, everything seems perfect when she gets on board the luxurious cruise ship. It's only for the very, very wealthy. Remember, this is the maiden voyage. So they're probably charging more for tickets. They don't want, just the average middle class passenger to get on the ship. Wealthy people like to hang out with other wealthy people. And it's an exclusive vessel. It's only for that particular class of guest. And it offers very fine dining. Fine dining means really good food, delicious food, not stuff like McDonald's or hamburgers or even hot pot. This is delicious, delicious food that costs a lot of money. Elegant suites. The cabins have several rooms to them. They're not just one tiny, tiny space where you usually stay if you're on a cruise ship. And it feels very peaceful to her. She's surrounded by stunning scenery, but on her first night, something horrible happens. She hears a scream and then a loud splash coming from the next door cabin, which is cabin 10. What happens then, Tom?
Then she sees a woman's body sinking into the icy dark water. She's not quite sure, but that was just a glimpse. She thought she saw a woman's body sinking in the icy dark water. My goodness, somebody threw her into the ocean or she fell or whatever. And, of course, she also spotted a fresh pool of blood on the glass balcony fence of cabin 10. Okay, so that's something else she saw. A fresh pool of blood on the balcony fence, which is made of glass. A pool of something is like a large amount of a liquid in one place. And so there was a lot of blood there. And this, again, was in cabin 10 on the balcony. So, of course, those cabins in cruise ships may have a balcony. You can step out there and get a closer view of the ocean or whatever. They're kind of dangerous, though, so don't fall off. I'm sure it's happened in the past, or it does happen from time to time. So after she sees that body sinking into the water, in a panic, she alerts the crew, but they dismiss her story. So she's panicking here. My goodness, something terrible happened. I've got to tell somebody. Somebody might have just gotten murdered. So she alerts the crew. She contacts the crew and says, hey, something terrible may have happened. I heard a scream. I heard a splash. I saw blood. But they dismiss her story. You're just making this up. You're being hysterical. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a young journalist from London. First time on a boat like this. You're probably seeing things. You're probably imagining things. It's just a figment of your imagination.
Yeah, they are kind of rude to her, They kind of make her feel like she's crazy and she's just seeing things. As Tom said, they probably think she's hysterical because if you're in a panic, you're very frightened very suddenly or you're very anxious. So moving on, it says the passenger manifest indicates every guest is present. A passenger manifest is a list of all the passengers on a ship or on a plane. Say, for example, a plane crashes. The first thing they check is the passenger manifest. Now, maybe some people bought tickets but never showed up at the airport. That will be clear on the passenger manifest. Only the people who actually boarded the ship or plane will have their names on that list. So it indicates that every guest is present, and the crew insists cabin 10 was never occupied, that it was always empty. If a place is occupied, it just means there's someone there. The space is being taken up by something or someone. So, yeah, if you're on a plane, I bet some of you have seen that light that says occupied. If you need to use the restroom, there's someone in it, that will light up and say occupied. That means someone's in there.
Right, so she's probably in second class here because all the wealthy people are in first class, so probably all those cabins in second class are unoccupied except for hers. So they say, hey, nobody was staying in that cabin. It was never occupied. And although Lo had visited the cabin the night before to borrow mascara, the room is now vacant. So for some reason, she was in that cabin before, in cabin 10, and she wanted to borrow some mascara. This sentence does not tell us whether she borrowed it from a person or if she just simply went into the room and found the mascara on a shelf or something. I guess she probably borrowed it from somebody.
Or maybe she just knocked on the door thinking she could borrow some mascara, but there was no one who answered. We don't know.
Right. And of course, mascara is something for your eyelashes. They make them thicker. And the room is now vacant. And the other passengers seem unaware of any trouble. So she seems to be the only one who heard this scream and heard the splash and saw the blood. The other passengers are like, we didn't see anything. I think you're crazy. You're just making this up.
So Lo's credibility is questioned. If you, when you talk about someone's credibility, it's whether you can trust them or not. If you have credibility, people can trust you. If you have no credibility, people feel like you are an untrustworthy person. And her credibility is questioned, even though she's a journalist, which you might think, you could trust her. But because she seems to be a little bit panicky, a little anxious, people are thinking she's probably just a crazy lady. So she begins to doubt her own perceptions. Your perceptions are things that people understand or the way they perceive or see things as they are or are not. And the ship sails through the isolated North Sea as she's on that ship. It's isolated, meaning you're far away from other people or places. Again, she's on the high seas, away from everybody and everything.
Right, and of course the North Sea is the body of water that separates Norway from the UK. So I guess they were sailing from the UK toward Norway. They weren't there yet, so they were out in the middle of the ocean. And of course, that's where this is happening here. It's in the isolated North Sea. It's far away from everything else. There are no other ships around, or at least not for quite some distance. And she feels increasingly trapped. Okay, so that means she's stuck on this boat. She thought she saw a murder or something like that, but everybody thinks she's crazy. But she's still here on this boat with all these people. It's just her word against theirs. And she persists in searching for answers, but everyone around her is doubtful. So she still thinks something happened, and she continues looking for answers. She talks to people. She looks for clues and things like that. But everybody there says, you're just imagining this. It didn't really happen. It's your first time on a cruise ship. Maybe you just heard the anchor splashing in the water or something like that.
Yeah, well, strange things start to happen. And then she starts getting anonymous threats. She doesn't know who's threatening her. An anonymous threat might be, if you don't keep your mouth shut, you're going to die or we're going to kill you. So the threat says, you better stop asking questions, lady. The closer Lo gets to the truth, the greater the danger becomes. That's always how it works. Will she solve the mystery before the cruise ends? Or will she be the next to vanish without a trace? If you vanish without a trace, you disappear suddenly, and there are really no clues left behind to tell people what happened to you. So who knows? This sounds exciting.
Sounds exciting, and of course we can't tell you the end because we don't know the end ourselves and because we don't want to spoil it for you if you read the book or watch the movie. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
好，接着我们看到第5个句子 She alerts the crew， 请注意动词 alert 指的就是通报，她通报船员。再来，请看到 dismiss， 第2个动词这边 dismiss 就是不愿意相信、接受， 那有表示否定、否决的态度比方说，现在有些人可能年轻人会比较希望能够多去闯闯，但父母通常都希望自己的子女能够选择安定嘛。The young woman's parents dismissed her decision to quit teaching as both reckless and naive. 老师用 dismiss 造了一个句子，这个句子的意思是女子的父母呢认为她辞去教职这样的决定很鲁莽、很天真，因此呢加以否定。The young woman's parents dismissed her decision to quit teaching as both reckless and naive. 那再来，请同学看到几个重要的词。第一个句子 passenger manifest 指的是旅客名单。再来呢，请同学看到第三段第四个句子 lose credibility， 这里的 credibility 呢指的是可信度。好，再来，请同学看到第四段第一个句子 as the ship sails through the isolated North Sea， 这个 isolated 请画起来。这边如果我们在描述地点地方的时候，那一般而言我们就可以把它理解为偏僻的、偏远的。比方说偏僻的村庄、偏僻的聚落、偏远的聚落，我们就可以说 isolated villages 或 isolated communities。 再来，请同学呢看到第三个句子。好， She receives anonymous threats。 Anonymous 指的就是匿名的。那再来是最后第五个句子，请注意词语搭配 solve the mystery 解谜还有最后面的这个 vanish without a trace 就是消失的无影无踪，请特别把 without a trace 这个介系词片语画起来。好，以上就是我们针对这一天课文内容所做的中文讲解。 See you next time.
That's it, guys. We hope you enjoyed day 1, which is really mainly about the plot of the novel. Day 2, we're going to focus in on the author herself, Ruth Ware, who is a British author. We hope you'll join us then. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.